This morning on The Blend, we have joining us Katrina Hofstetter from Cornerstone Legal. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right, let's talk about real estate planning, which is one of the services that you offer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, or what would you say is the most common questions you get when addressing real estate, estate planning?
Well, I don't know if it's definitely a question, but I do get this idea a lot from people. So when I start with real estate clients, I always want to look at the deed first. I need to know what the deed says. And when I ask for the deed, most often people think they don't actually have it yet. They say they have a mortgage and they just don't have their deed. And just to kind of set the record straight, unless you have a land contract, you should have gotten your deed. And it's really important to make sure you have that. If you don't, you can always get it from the county.
Okay, so once you have time to review that deed, Christina, what are some other common questions that would come up?
Well, there are really three types of deeds that I could be looking at. We've got warranty deeds and quitclaim deeds, and those are very similar. And when I'm looking at those types of deeds, I'm looking for who owned it before and who owns it now. And those two deeds are similar also because they transfer ownership immediately. Warranty deeds are going to come with a lot of promises from the seller to the buyer. And then quitclaim deeds are more between friends or family, people that you trust. And then Michigan has ladybird deeds, and those are more like beneficiary designations. And those are going to transfer the property after you pass away. And those are the types of things that I'm looking for when I review those deeds.
When you go through all that paperwork, because when you buy a house, there's a lot of paperwork. Are you able to tell what's the deed? I mean, could anyone out there would it say deed on there?
It should. I will often have clients just hand me like this big packet from
Right.
there's like a leather portfolio from the
Yeah.
title company, and I will weed through and find it. So yes, it should say deed at the top.
Are there any other real estate issues that are commonly questions or concerns that come up with people?
There are. The most common thing that I face is how two people own property when they're not married. And you can either own as joint tenants or you can own as tenants in common. With the joint tenancy, it has to say it on the deed. And if somebody passes away, it just gets absorbed. But if it's tenants in common, it might go through probate. So that creates issues.
There's so many, we could talk to you all day.
Yeah, probably.
About this issue. All right, well, we're gonna put your information on the screen. You can contact Katrina at Cornerstone Legal, PLLC, cornerstonelegalpllc.com or 708-2222.